to first start by, positioning AWDF within the larger ecosystem that exists of philanthropy in what we're calling the global stuff. I'll start by saying that AWDF very much exists within the African philanthropic ecosystem, which is underpinned by the value of Ubuntu. I think many of you have heard this, and there's always a challenge in translating Bantu languages into other colonial languages because you lose a lot of the meaning. And I want to uplift the fact that Ubuntu is about community, so how we are in community with each other, how we're in community with the planet, and how we're accountable to each other and to the planet. So this is really the underpinning, first of all, of AWDF's positioning. The other thing is that we exist within the broader ecosystem of women's funds and women's funds. There are so many of them in the room right now. Women's Fund Asia, Fondo Mujeres del Sur, Mama Cash, we are multiples. And we exist together in this ecosystem across boundaries, right, across geography. And I think it's very important to position it that way because we do not see ourselves as a single actor. We see ourselves as a member of an ecosystem that is contributing towards gender justice. And so I'll start from there, really, and then I'll say that AWDF has existed for, I would say, 24 years. Like many feminist funds, it started with 3 women who went to Beijing and were like, there is such little money that is going to African women's rights organizations, and we need to fix that, so we are going to do that. And so I think there's a lot of courage and bravery in making some of these decisions, and so when you ask the question of why, the answer is that feminist funds or women's funds we sit within and alongside movements. When we think about this concept of localization, sometimes I'm not sure we mean the same thing when we talk about it. And I want to say that women's funds have been doing localization before it became a sexy term, right? They have been doing the work of decolonial, long-term, flexible funding, all the things before it became a thing. And so I think it's very important to understand that ecosystem within which women's funds and feminist funds exist and do their work. The other thing is, on the money. There are multiple funds, including those within the Prospera International Network for Women's Funds, but also the Black Feminist Fund and AWID, who have produced research that has shown that when you look at the nuances of the funding flows, the money that actually goes to Black movements, to, it's really small. Prospera's research in 2020 showed that women's funds in Africa, I would say we're only able to resource 10.3% of eligible applications that we get. So when you think about this, at a global level, it's 23%. The need is immense. Where is the money going, right? You have organizations like Equal Measures 2030 who are also here, who have an index that's showing that many countries, if you're looking at gender equality across the SDGs, many countries are either stagnating or moving backwards. And so that is also important stuff to think about when we're thinking about what the data is showing and where the money goes and through who the money goes. It's the nuances of reaching those who are most marginalized. And I think this is something that women's funds and feminist funds do effectively. I also think there's the question of language. When we think about gender equality, in many ways we're thinking in very binary ways. We're thinking about women and men, right? And feminist funds center the language of gender justice, where we're really thinking about what are the systems of oppression that exist that we need to dismantle. So we're thinking about gender expansive people. We're thinking about all the intersections that humans occupy and how you reach those who are most marginalized, who don't live in capital cities, who are sex workers, and I think that feminist funds and women's funds like AWDF and the others in the ecosystem center this and invest in the resilience of our communities. And so when we're thinking about long-term, flexible funding and all the things, what we're saying is, if you want to reach developmental goals around health, around education, around all the things, invest in the resilience of communities. Yeah, that's all.